What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So says Shakespeare's Juliet in his famous play Romeo and Juliet. Well, to a ship, a name is everything. While the ship's bell may be its soul, its name is its identity. As far back as the 3rd millennium BC, ancient Babylonians were making sacrifices to the gods when setting a ship to sea for the first time. The Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans were doing the same, making sacrifices and naming their ships. It was believed that the gods of the sea, be it Nun, Poseidon, or Neptune, kept a ledger and knew personally every ship that set sail on the seas. They guided their fates and protected them. A ceremony was performed and an offering made to the gods to add the ship to that ledger and gain the favor of the briny gods. Sacrifices started as animals, like goats, but later became things like glasses of wine, or nowadays, a bottle of champagne. This tradition continues to this day. Ships are christened in a similar fashion to their ancient counterparts. Words are said, asking for luck, an influential person is selected as a sponsor, and the person either pours alcohol on the bow or breaks a bottle as an offer of sacrifice, which was considered immensely important. A failed christening was considered a bad omen. In 2006, an Italian cruise ship was being christened. The bottle of champagne failed to break as it collided with the steel bow. 6 years later, that same ship, the Costa Concordia, would end up lying on her side on an underwater reef, 32 of her passengers dead. A proper sacrifice was imperative to the life of a vessel. During the 1920s, the US was going through prohibition, meaning it was impossible to acquire alcohol for christening. Ships were sometimes launched using bottles of cider or even just bottles of seawater, which seems kind of like a slap in the face. King Neptune be like, "Oh cool, thanks, more water. Thanks, bro." One such ship launched using water was the USS Houston, which in 1942 would meet her end by overwhelming enemy gunfire alongside HMAS Perth in the Battle of Sunda Strait. Many of her crew perishing and the remainder suffering in Japanese captivity as POWs. But even just the ceremony itself going well was important. A failed ceremony could be a bad omen for the future. In 1958, a massive iron ore freighter was being commissioned in the Great Lakes. During the commissioning, it was marred with poor luck. The patron of the ship took 3 swings to break the bottle. It took 36 minutes to release the keel blocks to let the ship slide down into the water, before it crashed in, making a massive tidal wave that doused the spectators before the ship crashed into the pier. So shocking was the event that one man even had a heart attack and died. But was this ship somehow affected by this? Well, in November of 1975, this ship, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald, was lost in a storm on Lake Superior. All hands went with her to the bottom of the lake. So, we get it. The naming and launching of a ship is important. Seemingly, one must appease the gods when a ship is launched, or else. But what about renaming the ship? Well, this is also considered a bad omen. Changing the name of the ship was seen as trying to pull one over on the gods. Seeing as they kept the ledger, if you change the name without letting the gods know, you'll surely punish the ship for their deceit. The HMS Birkenhead famously changed its name after launch, and shortly before its loss near South Africa. Though it isn't alone. The Danya Paz, the HMAS Perth, and the Daigo Fukuryu Maru, all ships I've talked about, all changed their names and all met terrible fates. In a practical sense, back in the day, changing a ship's name was just bad for business. A ship's name carried her reputation. A merchant knew a ship by its name and did business with them based upon that. If a ship were to change its name, it would lose all that rapport that they built, and had to start all over. Then again, if it had a poor reputation, it was a sneaky way to get a fresh start, assuming the gods didn't find out. There are ways to change a ship's name, though, and still stay in good favor. A ceremony is performed, scrubbing away the old identity, a sort of purging ceremony, removing nameplates and burning or destroying any of the old logs that contain the old name. Then a toast is offered to the captain, the first mate, and then, of course, the sea. Afterwards, the crew drinks and celebrates before christening the ship with the new name. This of course allows the ledger to be updated and the gods to be appeased. So to a ship, a name is everything, and to the gods, a christening is immensely important. But if you fail to break a bottle or decide to change your dad's old fishing boat name from Real Good Time to something more sensible, will it really matter? Probably not. But better safe than sorry. So have you heard of these superstitions? Know of any ships with disastrous christenings? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like the video if you liked it, and share it with your friends. And stay tuned for more superstitions with the Superstitious Sailor. Fair winds and following seas to you, shipmates.